Yo, what is going on, guys? In today's video I'm going over my top 5 Nike SB dunks of all time. This is a list that I've compiled myself just based off of, looking at dunks over the years. The top 5 I think are the coolest that have had the most impact in culture. And with that being said, I'm going to get right into the list. But before I do, there's one thing that I want to differentiate, because you might see some dunks that aren't on this list that you're wondering why they might not be. And that's because I wanted to say that these are only Nike SB dunks. These are not just regular dunks. The differences between them are, there's a couple things. It's not really stated a whole lot, but basically SB dunks have a fatter tongue and they're more cushioned. They came out, like a couple, I think they came out in early 2000s if I'm not mistaken. Basically it's just like a more sporty version of the shoe. Like I said, the tongue's fatter, has more cushioning because they were originally, for skateboarding, because, Nike SB. But they also have the Zoom sole, which is a sole that essentially just gives you more cushion and has more bounce, I guess, in your walk. And yeah, I mean, there's other things such as like the toe. I believe they changed the rubber on the toe, for skating purposes, and I believe those are like the main reasons. But essentially, that's like the main those are the things that differentiate SBs from regular dunks. That being said, let's roll right into the list. The first one I have on the list is the Supreme Red Cements that came out in 2012. And these are just really, I mean, there's nothing extremely special about these. Like, Supreme releases are like super limited as it is, but it's not like something where there was only like 10 or 20 pairs made. These shoes just have like a large impact in culture. You see people still rocking them to this day. A lot of people desire to have these shoes, and they're honestly just a really good looking colorway. I'm gonna have pictures popped up like right next to me so you can see what it looks like if you don't know what it looks like already. But essentially it's just like it's like red with like the cement, the cement pattern that Nike does on it, and looks really, really good. I'd like to have a pair in the future, but I mean, who knows? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But essentially this is definitely on my top 5 list for dunks. They're just super cool, and they were released in 2012. And if you're looking to get a pair today, it's going to fetch you a pretty penny for between $2,000 to $3,000, which is understood based. I mean, these are dead stock prices that I'll be listing off, but I mean that's kind of understood, based off of the rarity and how old it is. I mean, that's 8 years ago from now, never worn. So that's a pretty impressive feat. I mean, there's shoes from a lot longer that are never worn, but $2,000 to $3,000 is by no means cheap. That being said, I'm going to roll right into the next one. And it's going to be it's actually going to be like the only modern dunk release on this list. Modern as in the past couple years. But it's going to have to be the Chunky Dunky. Now, I know what you're thinking. Like, this isn't like an OG Nike SB release, so don't leave the video now. Just hear me out. Out of all the dunks that have released over the past, 2 to 3 years, as dunks have started to get more hype again, I'd say really over the past year and a half, 2 years, the Chunky Dunky has honestly had, other than the Travis Scott, I think the Chunky Dunky has had the most hype, considering it's not like a celebrity collaboration, but it's a brand collaboration, like back in the day when, Nike collaborated with like Tiffany and Co. and stuff like that. But I do like the Chunky Dunky. Not necessarily saying it's like really good for fashion or like style purposes, but it's an extremely cool collectible shoe. The way they released it was awesome. And if you've seen the Friends and Family box, you'll know like this thing is like actually insane, and there's so much detail that's went into it. I mean, the Friends and Family box is literally a pint of ice cream. It's like yay big, and like probably about like that big, and they put the shoe in the box for like in the ice cream pint for the packaging. Now, I mean, like there's a lot of shoes where the packaging can be pretty cool, but that's honestly like one of my favorites. Like, attention to detail is definitely like something that matters when it comes to like shoe collectability and impact on culture. All the little cool trinkets that come with the shoe, it really it definitely adds like a factor of excitement into unboxing or having the shoe. But yeah, so that's like the only modern shoe on this list. I didn't want to do a bunch of modern shoes, just look like I hopped on the bandwagon or whatever, just because Nike, like the dunks are popping off right now. But I couldn't make a list of the top 5 without putting it in, just because I've seen the impact that it's had on the sneaker community lately. Rolling into the next one's going to be the Tiffany SB dunk, which came out in 2005. And as I'm reading up on these things, I learned like quite a bit. And I mean, the Tiffany SB dunk, it's like insane how big the story is. I mean, like a lot of these dunks have like really good stories to them, but the Tiffany one was really cool. because you know, you do enough digging and you find some cool stuff out. Like the color on the Tiffany one, which the the shoe's going to be right there. The blue color is actually trademarked by Tiffany & Co. So like the average person can't just go use that blue color on like any regular, you know, t-shirt or shorts or like watch or handbag or something, because Tiffany & Co. has like trademarked that color. So they collaborated with Nike and they threw it on a dunk, and this is in the middle of the dunk hype, you know, 2005. I mean, this stuff is doing incredibly well at the time. So I mean, yeah, like everyone was really like blown away by the fact that they collaborated and how hyped and rare they were. And you also got to think, this is back before like Instagram was a thing and stuff like that. I mean, I heard that the only way really back in the day you could hear about these is, I mean, other than being like in the skate shop itself, is like, you know, their MySpace page, which, I mean, how many people were on their MySpace page back in 2005? So, I mean, these are definitely an extremely rare shoe. I'd have to agree with the Chunky Dunkies. I mean, like they're blue and black, like that bright blue color. So it might not be the best for like style purposes, but if you want to pop out and, you know, definitely stand out, then I mean, this might be a way to, like, a really good shoe to do that with. Just because like anyone that's been in the community for long enough will know what they are, and OG sneakerheads will respect, you know, like the fact that you're wearing something from the early 2000s, like something old that, you know, has been around for a while. Now, with that being said, if you want to get a dead stock pair of these, it's going to be between 1 to 2K. Some sizes can go up to 2,500. I've seen even 3K on like really rare sizes, but for the most part, it's like 1 to 2K. It really just depends like on where you get it from, the size. And I mean, that's essentially it. You can get different people selling it for different amounts, but considering, like, you know, for the Supreme one, I mean, this is I would say less hype, just because it's a little less, like, people really don't care about SB as much as they do Supreme, because all the hype beasts really only care about Supreme. And I also think the red cement looks better. But if you kind of compare the two shoes, I mean, the fact that this is holding value at like $2,000 still is pretty incredible, considering that, you know, SB hype died down for a little bit. And I can definitely see this 2K barrier turn into a 3K barrier as people start collecting dunks, because they'll want to add the shoe to their collection, and, you know, that means prices are going to be driven up. That being said, I'm going to roll into the next one, which is going to be, honestly, like the next two were like really in a close tie for like number one, but this is going to be the Freddy Krueger dunks. You know, the Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger. They came out in 2005, and the story behind this one is actually really cool, because basically, like, a Nightmare on Elm Street, the company, I believe it's Universal, if I'm not mistaken, correct me in the comments, but they sent out a cease and desist letter to Nike because Nike was using their print. I'll have the picture shown below. Nike was using, like, you know, their brown and then their striped print on a shoe, and it was very clearly resembling Freddy Krueger. Basically, they sent out a cease and desist to Nike, and Nike had to remove all the pairs from the shelves. So all the pairs that were sold, or all the pairs that people do have, I mean, they're extremely rare, and they just don't come up often, just because, like, you had to really be in the loop in order to even get a pair, or just be like extremely lucky and just buy a pair, you know, like the week or two that they were on the shelf. I mean, that factor alone, the fact that they were on the shelf for like less than a month, whenever, you know, before the internet really popped off, and I mean, that's just crazy to think. Back in the day, like, OG Jordans used to be on the shelf for like a long time, like back in the day, because no one knew they were going to be anything. I mean, these guys were only on the shelf for like a week or two. That's absolutely incredible, and that definitely reflects in the resale price, because dead stock, I couldn't find a pair selling for less than like 13K. Most of the pairs were like $15,000-$16,000 range, and like I said, these are dead stock pairs, which means, like, not only do you have the rarity factor of, like I said, like, very few pairs were put out, like, to the general public, but also to still be in box, like the original packaging, that's like absolutely incredible. So I got this guy at number 2 on my list, and the only reason I do is because number 1 is going to be something that you might have seen coming up, but I just have to put it on number 1 because of the impact that it has on sneaker culture, and that's going to be the staple Pigeon SB dunk. Came out in 2005 as well. If you can't tell, 2005 was a poppin' year for Nike SB, and essentially the story behind this is, it's like not as intricate as the Freddy Krueger story, but it's like really big. Basically, just like a bunch of riots were started in New York. Police department had to go, I believe Lower East Side is where the store was they were released at. Jeff Staple designed these for Nike, and it was just like like a cultural impact kind of thing, because every single person like who was into shoes in New York was there at the store. The streets shut down. I mean, all for a shoe release. There's stories of old women saying like, is this really just all for shoes? And I mean, that's kind of the moment in history, like shoe history, whenever everything turned to like, oh, this is kind of serious. You know, reselling started getting to an all-time high. You know, people started really scaling up their business. Hype shoes were now becoming something you had to have. You know, everything was being able to be easily more, like everything was spread more easily, like whether or not it was coming to the internet, because 2005, you know, a couple more years and people have iPhones. So everything was definitely on the uprise. And I think this is just like a turnaround moment in sneaker history that, you know, was extremely iconic and just really blew the top off of like literally everyone's personal thoughts on how big this is. With that being said, that is my top 5 dunks. Let me know if you disagree with me at all. Let me know what you would have listed them. I think I did fairly decent listing them. And there's, you know, maybe 1 or 2 that probably just completely rolled over my head that I didn't think about. And I'd love to hear it down in the comments below, because I've looked into like all the SBs and I've been a fan of them for years. I like the way they look. And I mean, yeah, with that being said, I guess just comment down below what you want to see next. Like the video if you enjoyed. And I guess just have a good day.